This podcast is kindly sponsored by Euro Auctions. The next auction takes place on the 12th and 13th of December in Dromore, County Tyrone. Welcome to another episode of the Ice Expo Podcast, lifting the lid on all things plant and construction. Today I am delighted to welcome Philip Carney, CEO and founder of the HR company. You're very welcome, Philip.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. So, Philip, let's get the ball rolling. You have an amazing story. You started in Microsoft alongside Bill Gates, and then obviously you moved on to set up the HR company. So do you want to fill me in on how it started?
Well, I started before that.
Right, okay.
Microsoft was where I ended, really.
Right.
I started as an accountant in life.
Okay.
And I worked for a company in Galway called Nortel, big Canadian multinational.
Right.
Probably the best company I ever worked for,
Very
in one
good.
sense. What they taught me and the freedom they gave me as a young person in the business was absolutely amazing. They gave me the opportunity to do an awful lot of stuff.
Brilliant.
They had this phrase in Nortel they called the glass ceiling. And everybody in careers reaches a glass ceiling. So how do you fix that? So they made people rotate their roles around.
Okay.
So the head of finance became head of HR or head of development or whatever it might have been.
Very interesting.
Just to keep them more interested and give them more creativity, and for them to understand the businesses across the entire business unit a lot more effectively. For us guys coming through who worked for these managers, we were dragged into all the meetings that they would have, and we would have to do all the presentations.
Right.
So we had to grow up quick
Right, okay.
when it came to a business perspective. Even though you were nervous and young, you knew this was the way forward.
And what age were you at this time?
At this stage, I would have been 23, 24, up to 30 years of age,
Right, okay.
waiting for your career to take off. But
Very
they made
good.
it possible. They made it really possible.
And what different roles did you do in this company?
Well, I started in finance,
Yeah.
and in there I switched over to HR,
Right.
which helped my future big time.
Yeah.
Finance was very populated at the time. HR wasn't so populated.
Okay.
So it created lots of opportunities.
Amazing. And when did you leave there then? And
I left Nortel then in 2000, not 2000, I left out in 91, 92, then to go and join Microsoft at that point in time.
Brilliant. So you did work alongside Bill Gates then?
I did work with Bill Gates and I worked with Microsoft, great company to work for, different in style. We went from hardware to software.
Right, okay.
And very different in what was necessary. Because everything now was actually all touch. There was no touchy-feely, no hard products to feel, nothing to see.
Right.
It was all behind the scenes, all software.
Okay.
And
What was
they
a
had-
typical day like then?
A typical day was no real different because you were still doing HR work to a large extent. You were hiring, you were firing, you were actually promoting, you were demoting, you were training, you were teaching people how to do performance, you were flying over to Seattle, you were flying to Europe, whatever it might have been, just to do what you had to do to make sure that Europe was integrated with Dublin and Dublin was integrated with Europe.
Amazing.
So a good experience in that perspective and a good learning. And on those journeys you would have met Gates along the way.
And what was he like as a character?
He was straightforward. He knew what he wanted. He was patient and he was impatient at the same time.
Right, okay.
He gave you some tolerance, but only once.
Right.
You learned from the first time you met him not to make the same mistake twice. So he
Interesting.
didn't waste his time.
Interesting.
And he wanted you to just do things. So one of the things I learned from him is come back and look for forgiveness, not permission.
Very good. Very
And
good.
that's what it was all about, really. Just make it happen.
And what was he like as a person, like personality-wise?
He was focused. He was very focused on what he wanted. You didn't see much anything of his social life or what he did socially, but you did see him from a business perspective. I liked what I saw. I thought this man he knows where he's going. He could see things that I didn't even think about.
Amazing.
And he taught me a whole lot back then about the vision is way out there.
The vision.
Yeah, is way out there, yeah.
Right,
And
okay.
you just see far enough ahead all the time.
So keep thinking ahead.
Keep thinking ahead. There's nothing to stop you.
And when did you then decide to go solo, set up the HR company?
Well, it was easy enough. Microsoft, as you know, is very lucrative for a lot of employees. So we decided it's time actually to stop playing industrial politics, internal politics, and go off and do your own thing. Because when you want to do your own thing, you really don't want to play games.
Yeah.
100%. You want to do
100%.
stuff.
Yeah.
And most big companies, a lot of politics goes on in them.
Oh, yeah.
How you get things done. A very important skill set. And even useful in business afterwards. But nonetheless, it does take you back a bit.
I'd say it was a huge change for you going for such a huge corporate. Like, how many people were working in Microsoft at that time?
At that time, I think it was about 50,000 people across the globe.
Oh my God.
And
but
that was huge. Yeah, you were going into a one-man organisation, two-man organisation, three eventually.
Yeah.
But you were getting that. But you relishing the freedom that you didn't have to go and look for permission.
I understand. So obviously then, what drove you to set up the HR company?
Well, I wanted to do something after I left Microsoft, and that was important to keep myself busy. So I looked at the different options, and most people who leave from a HR perspective, leave companies no matter where you work, tend to all gravitate into the recruitment business.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's where they all tend to gravitate toward to a large extent. You have very few consultants at that time that went into consultancy. And I looked at the whole area and I said to myself, what do they really need from a big perspective? And HR administration is very badly done at the time.
Right.
And HR compliance is very badly done. And HR, by the way, has a reputation that wasn't great at the time across everything. So it was time to improve that. So I looked at what can we do. So we looked at this whole back office, what we can do from a back office, how you can maximise your systems, how you can maximise information about people.
Right.
Today, AI is doing that.
Yeah.
But we were just doing it back then to maximise what people do and what they don't do. And information is very powerful.
Okay.
Information is a product, in fact.
Yeah.
In reality,
you're right there. 100%.
It's a full product.
Yeah.
People don't see it as that, but it's a full product of what people need to do to make decisions. So that's what we were really starting to do. Very slow. When we started out, extremely slow. But we got some good customers and we did it for them.
Yeah, 100%.
But along the way then we decided that actually it was time to maybe create other avenues. And then we looked at the small sector and small businesses who have little or no support whatsoever.
A lot has changed, hasn't it? Like, my father had a big company years ago, and I remember him telling one day he caught a lad stealing, and he said he grabbed him and he kicked him, and I mean kicked him the whole way from the office all the way out to the road, and that was him. Like, you couldn't do things like that nowadays. No,
and that's you couldn't do it even back then to a large extent, because even I remember when guys were stealing in a pub, they took €6,000. They were £6,000, not even euros. They were fired on the spot. But they went off and took their case and they won it.
I don't believe you.
And that's gone back maybe 25 years ago.
Jeez.
So
it was, I always had the impression that back then it wasn't as strict. Do you know that you'd get away with more? But obviously the way things are today.
Yeah, people didn't take challenges much back then, I would have thought.
Okay.
But if you did challenge, you were probably going to be successful as well.
And was it the WRC back then as well?
It wasn't called the WRC, it was called the Labour Relations Commission back then.
Right, okay.
And they actually were the people that were involved. And that was set up in 1946. So we've had the legislation and the facilities and the institutions back as far as then.
It's very, it is tough, like employment nowadays. Like, you have to have a company to work alongside you.
Yeah, it is very tough. It's actually, it's tough if you don't do anything about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's very hard for small employers to do things about it quickly. Because it's a tough, starting a business is tough, and most businesses are small when they start.
Yeah.
It's very tough for them because they have a lot to do. They have to go hire people, they have to go pay taxes on their behalf, they have to pay VAT. And if you don't pay those things in time, the revenue don't help you. They come looking for their interest in them.
Okay, 100%.
So you're stuck for cash in the first place and they make it worse.
Yeah.
And that's what they do all the time. But that's not their fault, that's their job. If you succeed, and it takes 3 to 4 years to succeed, to get comfortable that actually you're generating enough of cash now to be successful, and you go on from there.
So go back a few steps then. So obviously it was yourself and Angela set up the HR company. So it was just the two of you. So how did you get from there to where you are now?
Well, we got our first client back then, which was Analog Devices in Limerick.
Brilliant.
And we were that was the start of us. Always the first client is always important.
Yeah.
You'll never forget them. They do a wonderful thing. The people I dealt with in Analog Devices were super people. And they were good to work with.
Amazing.
And we were there for a long, long time. So we then had to actually become salespeople.
I was thinking
we were very good at HR. We knew what the HR was all about.
Yeah. We
had to become salespeople. We had to become technology people. The finance background came into play very quickly, and we were able to use that. But we have to learn a whole lot of skills. And sales is one of the toughest skills out there, unless you're natural.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really hard to push yourself out there and to put yourself in front of somebody and ask them to buy you and trust you.
Yeah.
And that takes time and that takes a lot of battle.
So what did you do? You went door to door?
We went on the phone, ringing people up. I have this new service that might work for your small business. Can I come and meet you? We had seminars. We invited people in the local system first and foremost around the area. They came, in fairness to them, on the first night we opened up, and they came on their big numbers because they knew HR probably was something that they needed to think about.
Yeah.
And some of them signed up, and we went from there.
Amazing.
Today we have 1,500 clients nearly.
1,500 clients. Jesus, that is remarkable. Well, I have to say and give credit, I've been using you guys now for a long time, and what I feel about you, obviously I've used other companies in the past, but it's your personal approach.
Yep.
It's outstanding. With other companies out there, you'd never get to talk to the same person twice.
Yeah.
Where I feel with you guys, we always talk to the same person. There's never... you'd be back in an email in 5 minutes. It's incredible the service that you're providing at the minute.
Yep, the service is about human people.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Managing human issues. Therefore, you have to be consistently applying the same rules to them all the time.
So, Philip, let's say there's a small business out there today. Obviously, everyone needs an employee handbook. They need contracts for new employees. If you were to say to a small business out there who are winging it, as I would say, at the minute, what do they need? And what advice would you give them?
I think this is simple and this is difficult. Because if you're a small employer, first of all, HR is the last thing on your mind.
Yeah.
Last thing on your mind, because you're trying to generate business.
Until you have a problem.
So my advice to small business would be it's about becoming compliant.
Yeah.
And if you look about it, the revenue people want you to be compliant. Central bank wants you to be compliant. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants you to be compliant today. Driven by governments around the world, compliance is the bottom line for everybody. If you're not compliant in HR, this is where your exposure is going to be. And what people fail to remember, financial systems are not going to go up and bite you in the butt. IT systems are not going to bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
But a person will.
100%.
And they're the ones that have the knowledge and the ability to do that. And it's the area that people neglect every time to do until they have a problem. And if you're trying to recover something, it's always more difficult than trying to prevent it. So if you put prevention in place, you're much better off. The big advantage for a company, how they need to understand this, there's no right and wrong in HR.
Yeah.
There's no right and wrong in firing somebody. There's no right and wrong in promoting somebody. Mm-hmm. In reality, what the reality is, what process did you follow to make that decision?
Okay.
And it's only the process they look at.
Right.
So if you give people due process, fair procedure, everybody's happy.
Okay.
You're covered.
100%.
And then it's about was the sanction justified? And that's all it comes down to at that point in time.
Can you give me an example of some cases that you have, I suppose, resolved for clients recently?
There's been so many. As you can say, with so many clients, they're coming at us every day. I'll give you an extreme example. We had to deal with a murder case once.
Oh, Lord.
An employee murdered their mother.
Oh, my God.
And the employer came to us, what do we do? Because they had been approached by the woman's solicitor, the woman's solicitor, about looking to be made to be terminated. Now, to do that would have been wrong. And to accept that decision from the lawyer would have been wrong. Because really, without going through a process to determine that person, because you've assumed guilt before the courts have.
Oh, my God.
So you have to slow them down.
Right, okay.
And do that right.
That's very difficult.
That's just thinking things through when they happen. Again, it's the process.
And how did you manage that case?
We actually had to go back to the solicitor and say, give me an undertaking, you won't take any claims. Right. And then I will give you the document. Never came back to me. Never came back to us.
That's
and we
crazy.
knew perhaps then they were looking to make a claim because 2 years' salary, which they could have earned, would have been very useful for her family while she was in prison.
Unbelievable.
So
that is an extreme case. Example. Yeah, it's an extreme.
But more often you find there's a lot of harassment in the workplace, a lot of bullying going on in the workplace.
Right.
A lot of people working from home.
Yeah, that's
How
a
do you
huge
get them
thing
back
at the
to
minute.
work?
Yeah.
Do you want them back to work?
Yeah.
When they come back, are they happy? Are they not happy? It's a difficult area at the moment, but the courts, in fairness to them, are actually allowing more and more cases not to be thrown out when people make the application to get people back to work.
Okay.
But again, you go through that process. There's a process involved. They have set up a situation. You make an application to work from home.
Right.
The right to work from home, whatever it might be, the right to flexible arrangement, whatever. You make that application, at least then the employer has to go through it and say, yes, I will grant it or I won't, and you back it up with logic.
Right. There's ways and means around everything.
There's ways and means about everything. Yeah. And it's just being patient.
Yeah.
Don't rush in.
100%. Philip, looking back to your younger self, starting out as an accountant in that job in Galway, would you have changed anything?
Would I have changed anything? I probably would. I probably would have been more aggressive than I was.
In what way?
Life, as more compliant myself.
Okay.
When you work with people, you give them the benefit of the doubt all the time. And you fit in with what goes on around you, especially the bigger multinationals.
Yeah.
But you begin to realise that some people are more competent than others. And you know that you have more competence. Most people have more competence than they actually believe they have themselves. So just believe in yourself and go for it.
Okay.
Just go for it, even in the workplace. Contribute more. Like
100%.
We don't say a whole lot to our employers most of the time. It's good things to our employers.
Yeah.
Like if you think about JFK said it really well. When he said, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Very good analogy.
So it's a very good analogy for everybody. What can I do for the company? Because if you do things for the company correctly, they will recognise that quickly. And they'll take you on board and they'll do things that you never thought could be done. I'm
just going back to what you said there about the first company that you worked with there and how the roles changed. I'm finding that really interesting.
Which? The roles?
The roles.
Yeah.
Because you got a taste of everything then within the company.
You got a taste of everything, yeah.
And I suppose it kept the morale up in the business as well.
And it kept your interest up.
Yeah.
And it kept your learning up. And it kept you awake. There's a theory out there that you should change your job every 5 years. Not your career every 5 years. Not your job necessarily, but your career every 5 years. For you to be effective. For you to enjoy
Stay on
life.
the ball.
Stay on the ball, stay awake. So every 5 years is not a long time.
It's not a long time
Because
at all.
the first 2 years you learn it. The second, third year you're competent in it. And the next 2 years you're waiting for your next assignment.
What advice would you give to any young person out there today who's thinking of starting their own business?
I would say there's a lot of advice you can give young people starting businesses. You first of all have to believe in it.
Yeah.
You need a backer. Somebody as a mentor and a backer
100%.
who's going to tell you what to do. Yeah. You need to understand that everything's not going to go smoothly. You need to prepare yourself for more failure than success. You need to know that that's not the end of the world. One of Bill Gates' phrase was actually, you should embrace success, but heed the failures.
Very good. Very interesting.
So heed the failures. And that's where you should concentrate your time.
Working on the failures.
Working what would have done, what could I have done better to make that better for me.
That is brilliant.
So that's kind of where so I think young people, we're all capable of doing stuff. Sometimes we get knocked back.
Yeah.
But you do need a mentor. You do need a helper. You do need finance.
Yeah.
And finances are very scarce when you start out. You're the last person to get paid.
That's 100% right, all right. And going back to, I suppose, before, did you go to college? What did you study?
I studied accountancy.
Accountancy, okay. And are you still heavily involved then in accountancy in the HR company at the minute?
Oh, you see, you instinctively you know what they're about.
Yeah.
Instinctively, accountants learn a lot of stuff across all different business sectors because they need to.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to people in other departments, you can use language that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
But they also know you know more than you should know. And that kind of puts you on a level playing field.
That definitely makes sense.
The importance of HR for small businesses is becoming critical. The world is becoming very compliant, extremely compliant. There's more and more pushing. Young people today are very adverse with they know what's going on out there. They have access to all the information. They have access to AI. They have access to Google. They have access to. They can download quickly what I'm entitled to.
100%.
I can't advise the employer enough to actually be transparent about that.
Yeah.
So let them have all that information and put it out there. But you then manage your business through that and manage it quickly through that, because now you know those parameters of which you can perform against.
There's a lot of changes all the time. Like there's the gender pay. You're doing a lot on the gender pay
stuff has come in. But look, even recently I saw a headline recently that the government are now pushing for collective bargaining. I think it's to do with setting a living wage, but who knows where that could go.
Okay.
Collective bargaining is a good concept, but in reality...
Explain that in more detail.
Well, they're suggesting that employers should engage with trade unions to do collective bargaining for, I would think, a living wage.
Right, okay.
To set the proper rates for that. In principle, I think that's probably necessary.
Right.
But why do they have to use the word collective bargaining?
Yeah.
Because that in itself is old school thinking. And we're in a different world today.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to be thinking about, and that's what they need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
But they're using old phrases. You have IBEC, you have the trade unions, you have the government, all in the one seat, really.
Yeah.
We're going to put this in place because it'll feel good for the politicians.
100%, you're right there. What would you say would have been some of the biggest challenges you faced, Philip, in the early days when you started out with the HR company?
I think we were very lucky. I think we were very driven by what we wanted to do. I think we had the ability to ride out any storm. So the challenges really were just actually get out on the road.
Okay.
Breaking out of my comfort zone.
Right, okay.
So breaking out of my... I'm not
suppose your whole life you never did sales.
I'm never a salesman. At all. But I learned a phrase from some woman in HR, and she was an amazing woman. What she said, she said, if you can sell, you'll have a job for life.
That's very true. That is very true.
And that is very true.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I said, I have to sell. Now I'll have a job for life.
And how did you transition into it?
I just had to say, listen, forget the barriers. Get out there, get it done. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you're selling. Believe that you know what you're doing is right for everybody. And I still believe today that HR is right for companies. Because if you treat people right, whatever you do with them, they'll become better employees.
100%.
Productivity can grow. Yeah. Everything can grow. Your hassles can disappear. And you can rely on people if you treat them right. And, if you have 10 employees, you have 10 active brains that you can use.
100%.
Not just the one.
Yeah.
If you have 100 employees, use them.
So fill me in, Philip, on what services you provide exactly for companies out there.
Okay, well, our starting point typically for a company that comes in who has no issues is to actually look at all their compliance documentation.
Right.
To make sure they're fit for purpose and fit for business. Mm-hmm. A lot of people believe a contract of employment, once I have it, I'm covered. You are covered. But why not make it work for the business?
100%.
Make that one work for the business.
A lot of companies out there just have standard documents.
Standard stuff, yeah.
I remember when I started working with you guys first, you looked at mine and it just wasn't fit for purpose at all.
Not fit for purpose, yeah. So you need to get that fit for purpose.
Yeah.
You need to keep it up to date. So the service that we look at that, we look then at your policies, procedures, what you have, what you don't have. Do you have enough? Do you not have enough of them? And there are certain things you need to have.
Okay.
Like there are some 40 plus pieces of legislation out there covering the employment relationship. And there are SEOs and REOs that go on top of that. And then you have union agreements and collective bargaining agreements on top of that again.
It really is a minefield.
And then you have solicitors on top of that who will verify, who will check all those if they think there's an opportunity. And then you've got the institutions like the WRC.
Right.
So everything is stacked against the employer to a large extent. But once they do it right, they can get through all that.
Is it hard to have it all watertight?
We'll never get anything watertight in life.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But you will get it 95% there. And that takes away a lot of the pain.
Yeah.
Because if you take away 95% of all the issues, then the 5% are much easier to handle because I can focus on them.
Okay. So after you do all the compliance checks, what's next?
Then we encourage the employers to ring us once they have issues immediately. We don't care what the issue is. We prefer to prevent it escalating.
Yeah.
And do it there and say, and it might be a simple thing like go back to the employee and apologise to them.
Right.
You did it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And take away the problem immediately. Or it might be go out and suspend the employee because he's a danger to the rest of the workforce.
Okay.
So it's how you manage what happens on a day-to-day basis. And things happen every day.
Yeah, of course
every
they do.
day.
It's human nature,
Human
isn't
nature.
it?
And we change as people as we go on as well.
Yeah.
And different people influence our thinking style as we go on through life as well. And they have to be factored into when you're thinking about what the solution might be. Because sometimes you're not dealing with the employee, you're dealing with the employee's partner.
Yes, I understand. There's a lot of psychology in hiring.
You don't know who you're dealing with,
Yeah.
So therefore you have to allow for that. And I ask a lot of questions when I'm talking to people. They don't like the questions sometimes, but I'm only trying to learn.
100%. Every day is a learning day in this world, isn't it?
Every day is a learning day.
And the people that think that they know it all, they definitely don't.
Exactly. And then I can tell them what I think is the best approach to take.
This podcast is kindly sponsored by Euro Auctions. The next auction takes place on the 12th and 13th of December in Dromore, County Tyrone.
So, Philip, on top of all that then, what other services do you provide?
Other services we provide HR databases for companies that need to house all their data about their people.
Okay.
We provide what we call as a predictive index. It's an assessment test when you're recruiting somebody to see what their behaviours are like. We provide gender pay gap reporting tools and analysis. We provide data protection software tools to assess are you compliant under data protection. And the list goes on. The only thing we don't do as a company, from a HR perspective, is recruitment.
Right, okay.
We just don't do it. We do everything else but recruitment. We'll give you lots of questions to ask employees when you're hiring them, but we don't do recruitment.
Just go back. Them tests are very interesting when you're hiring
Yes.
someone, and they're important.
They can be important. They can be important to help you make the final decision.
Right, okay.
They're not the only way to do things.
Tell me more about the behavioural tests, Philip, and how that would, I suppose, help an employer hire.
Well, I think, for me, and I've done a lot of tests in my time when I was Microsoft and Nortel, and they were all lovely, but they were all pretty standard. This one is actually, it tells me what behaviours you have. And our behaviours as people never change. So if I understand your behavioural style, then I know how to work with you.
Okay.
And if you understand my behavioural styles, you know how to work with me.
And would that come into effect then, I suppose, of looking at the other staff in your office and ensuring that they fit in?
They fit in, and they fit in with each other.
Right, okay.
We need different behaviours to work in different groups.
And what types of behavioural styles are there out there?
Oh, there are many. There are 17 or 18 that we know. We know that some people they like to control information.
Okay.
We know some people are mavericks. Their behaviour is a maverick style. We know some people want to be leaders.
Right.
But you don't know that when you interview them. The tests will tell you to a large extent, this is what you're buying into.
So interesting.
It really is. It really is. I use it for recruiting most times.
Okay. You told me earlier, Philip, you never read a CV.
Never read a CV.
So how do you do it?
I don't. What do I need to read a CV for? CV, first of all, covers history.
Right.
And it's not written by you.
Okay.
Typically, somebody helps you write your CV.
100%.
So I'm not getting much information about you.
So let's say I came into you for an interview. How would you judge me?
I wouldn't have the CV anyway.
You wouldn't want on the CV. It would be
And
great.
I will tell you when you meet me that I haven't read your CV.
Right, okay.
And I will tell you, my first question, if I had read it, what would I find in it? And now I want to see who wrote the CV by the answer you give me.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So would I be right in saying you don't care about education? You don't?
I do care about it. I think
do?
education is fundamental.
Right.
And I will get to the education piece because they'll tell me if they think it's important to them.
Okay. Okay. And what kind of interview questions would you ask?
Well, I ask questions about the CV, what would be in it. Then I know what they haven't told me is what they haven't written.
You're a bit of a psychologist at the back of it all, I think.
No, you just know how, if you're a long time in HR, you know what people do when they're applying for work. And by the way, on the day they're applying for a job, they're selling.
They're selling themselves, yeah, you're right there. 100%.
And you're selling the company.
Philip, tell me, how has the HR company evolved over the years, I suppose, from the start till now?
Well, we're 25 years in business now. This is our 25th year.
Congratulations.
We have evolved from no employees to now having nearly 30 employees, all focused on HR activities. We've outsourced everything else but HR.
Amazing.
Because we don't need to be distracted by the other business needs. They can all be managed by an outsourced partner. Just like we want to get small business to outsource their HR to us.
Get specialist people. It makes sense.
Get specialist people to focus on specialist activities. So how have we evolved? We have added a lot of products to our portfolio. We've added a lot of skill sets with the people that we are, what they have to do. We actually now go out and we actually do training programs for managers, what to do in HR, the do's and don'ts of HR when you're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis.
Excellent.
We go out and teach them about dignity at work, because these are the things that we come across more often in the workplace. That issue about I'm being bullied or I'm stressed or whatever comes up every day in language with people today. Mm-hmm. We now need to teach management how to deal with that when it comes along. And we think if they deal with it immediately, it prevents it escalating.
100%.
So we do a lot. Our people go out and train on site for our clients and train their managers to do it.
That's super.
And then they build a relationship with the people as well, our people, so that when they do call them, they are able to articulate exactly what the issue is, and it solves the problem quicker, and we resolve the issue much quicker for them.
One of the biggest, I think, tips from talking to you today is that I have got from you is not to let anything escalate.
Oh, try and avoid it, yeah. Because if you let it escalate, people go off and get advice elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'd feel like sometimes you're like, I'll deal with that next week.
Yeah.
There's no point in putting things off, is there?
They go to Dr. Google or they go to Dr. AI and they get the answer for them.
Yeah, 100%.
And that makes it worse.
Yeah.
And we can tell AI when people come in with AI complaints, we can tell them immediately.
Is AI affecting your business, Philip?
AI is affecting the amount of workload we've got in recent months. We know more and more people are using AI to make complaints.
Okay.
So there's a lot more work involved in that.
Right.
AI will certainly impact what we do from a HR perspective. For that reason, we're embracing it. We're changing how we're doing things. We're building things that will help us from an AI perspective and help our clients more than ourselves.
Yeah.
For me, AI is all about information, but it brings little or no wisdom.
I totally agree.
It brings a lot of information but no wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is needed by people understanding what AI has said.
I use AI a lot myself, and one thing I have to say is doing up a contract on AI, it's not a good idea.
Not a good idea, no.
No.
You don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And you feel it should be.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Looking back, Philip, what advice would you give yourself starting out your first day in Microsoft back in the day?
Can I go back before that?
Yeah.
I'll tell you about Microsoft in time. My first day working in Dublin,
Right.
ever. As a country boy, as you can probably tell from my accent.
Yeah. You're Galway.
Mayo.
Mayo.
Born Mayo, yeah. I'd come back from London after working in London for a while. I came back to work for this company in Dublin.
Right.
And I was the first, and I quote the expression, culchie, to work in this company, in this department, the finance department. So I got introduced around, as you all do in the first day, to the various people. And I was sitting at my desk eventually. And I sat at the desk. And then actually, nobody was talking to me. And being from the country, people talk to each other, you know.
Yeah.
How you get them, where
You're
you're
driving
from,
down the road and you get a wave.
where you're from and what it's going to be like, you know, all that stuff. Nothing was talking. But I could hear them all whispering to each other.
Okay.
And I heard the word culture, and you know, you can pick up things like, 'cause at that time you're young enough, like. So anyway, at about I hear them all whispering. At 12 o'clock, I stood up from my desk, and I just go, taking in deep breaths, and I did about 5 or 6 of them
In a row.
In a row, yeah. And somebody said to me, "Are you all right, Philip?" I said, "I am, yeah." But there's an awful smell of the jacks around here.
That is brilliant.
That was my first day at work.
Oh, stop.
But that made a huge difference.
Okay, you broke the ice.
I broke the ice big time. We were all best buddies ever after that. Like, they knew I was going to have a bit of fun.
Oh, was it because they just weren't used to working with people from the country?
Well, I didn't know, but I wasn't going to take it. I wasn't going to go for day 2 with this, like, because the chances are you could leave.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a wonderful company and great crack.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for about 2.5 years. Great crack.
So tell us, Philip, then about your first day in Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft was different because I went in there as a senior manager.
Okay.
I was head of the function, head of HR. Now it is actually, you had to play reasonable games. Now, Microsoft is a very different company from most other companies.
I can imagine.
And I will tell you a story about my first interaction with Microsoft. In the first week or two, actually. Like all good HR managers, you have to make an impact to show that you're credible.
100%.
So I looked at what they do, what they didn't do, and not realising the culture that Microsoft had, and not knowing it well enough. And if I were to do it again, I'd learn the culture first of all.
Okay.
But the culture was actually, but I came down with this policy, and I was told by my boss, the CEO at the time, go and talk to the supervisors and ask them what they think. So I went down to the various supervisors and I said, I have this policy, I want your opinion on it before I introduce it. So first supervisor was nice and polite, listened to me and grand. When I left, he shut the door, happy days. And the second guy, he said, "Philip, come into my office, let me tell you a story."
Okay.
He said, "Let me tell you something, Philip. I started here as 18 on the shop floor, packing boxes.
Right.
Today I'm a supervisor.
Okay.
I own a house in Greystones on 3 acres of land,
Lovely.
fully paid for. I'm only 24.
Oh my God.
I own 4 other houses, all paid for.
Wow. At 24 years of age.
24 years of age." He said, I said, "I am well heeled." He says, "Do you think I need your policy?"
Stop.
So I knew that I had to change my style.
And what did you do then? How did you
Then I
change it?
decided, let understand this culture. These guys have a different agenda.
What was the culture, Philip?
The culture was actually, because Microsoft, you were well paid for in Microsoft in the early days. You still do, I suspect.
Yeah.
But they were actually driven, and they were all driven. They were all pushing the same boat, the same agenda.
Do you feel like that came from the top?
I think it came from an element of actually the stock options and an element of actually I can get more if I do more.
Right, okay. Geez, 24 in all them houses, that's incredible.
It was incredible, yeah. For somebody like myself who was actually struggling to make ends meet at the time.
Yeah. I remember my first job actually was packing boxes for a company. It was, Mum wanted me to go to college and I wasn't having any of it. And my first job was packing boxes for Foreign Chemicals was actually the name of the company. Yeah. Down in Ballyfermot, and I loved it. Learned so much.
So much, yeah.
But it's hard to believe that, you know, packing boxes, you can learn.
You can learn, yeah. You can.
Because you see how the logistics works.
Yeah.
You know, you're keeping the customers happy. It is interesting.
Everybody has ability.
Yeah.
Everybody has ability. And everyone will find their own level.
Yeah, I totally agree.
In any workplace.
Yeah.
And they can be happy.
But the key to success is hard work.
We all have to work.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And that's something that's probably missing today. The new generation, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But they haven't been to college or to leaving certs. In a lot of cases, the current group coming through.
Yeah.
They haven't done their first 2 years in university.
Okay.
It's all been given away. The grant to be given to them for nothing during COVID.
Right.
They haven't learned to socialise during that period. And they've learned not to socialise during that period.
It definitely is having an impact.
And it's having an impact now.
Yeah.
Not their fault. I think they've been neglected to some extent. But there's a whole plethora of young people out there who don't know where they are and what they're doing. And they're being left behind in AI.
Yeah.
They're not being hired. And I feel for them because I think we need those young people to come forward more so than ever, because now is their time for the Gen Zs to actually make their mark.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying. Totally agree. It has to be difficult because I suppose, like, to think like we all socialised. They were locked up for.
It's important, yeah, but for lots of different reasons, even for their own mental health.
Like I've noticed it even here, and the phone rings, and staff are afraid to answer the phone.
Yeah.
It's just WhatsApp. And,
exactly.
You know, they're all right texting people, but having human conversations on the phone, it's crazy to see.
Crazy, yeah. But that's why I do feel so.
Yeah.
I feel big time for them that actually they're getting shortchanged by what happened.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And do you think is there going to be a solution to that?
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think AI is going to exclude a lot of young people from entering the workplace. And this goes back to the mid-70s and 80s when young people couldn't get jobs.
Okay.
And they all immigrated.
Right.
I think it is going to have that impact, AI, for short term now, not indefinitely.
Yeah.
There will be jobs in AI for people. But if you looked at it, was it Micheál Martin that said this week about actually our ageing problem and our AI is going to have a huge impact on the future of Ireland revenue streams.
Right, okay. No, it totally makes
either
sense.
Pascal or Micheál, I don't know who said it.
So, Philip, what is next for the HR company and where do you see the future going?
What's next for the HR company? I think we have to reinvent ourselves when it comes to AI in an inclusive way.
Okay.
Not to be afraid of it. And I think we will invent ourselves in an inclusive way. We're very active in the AI space, talking to people and see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking to a lot of companies in the US to see what they are doing from a HR perspective in their companies and try and learn and steal their concepts and ideas.
I like that.
And bring them to Ireland or bring them to ourselves. We go to the US every year, twice a year, to meet and learn from the US or US.
And
people.
do you go to trade shows over there or who?
No, we have our own trade show. We call it Gateway to Europe, all funded by ourselves. We go to a number of cities every year in the US. We get well treated in the US. We meet a lot of business people while we're there. We learn what they're doing, whether it's in the pharma space or the life sciences, or whether it's in just standard manufacturing. We understand and try and learn what Trump is doing and how he's doing it. Mm. We meet a lot of people from the Congress, from senators. We meet a lot of IDA are being good to us. Enterprise Ireland are good to us when we go over there as well, in terms of making introductions for us.
That's brilliant.
So, and we go every year and twice a year.
And would you say that they are ahead of the game over there?
I'd say they have more money to spend on it.
Okay, yeah.
And they're a lot more entrepreneurial in their style.
Yeah.
So therefore they are ahead of the game in that space.
That makes sense.
And we do that with every year. And we go there to learn. And at least 3, maybe 4 of us go from the company every year. And we're a small company.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. But every day is a learning day, as I keep saying.
Every day, yeah.
So, Philip, we hope you'll be exhibiting at Ice Expo this year. I think it would be great, I suppose, for all the business owners out there to have the opportunity to discuss what you can offer, because I suppose going back to myself, I'm using your company a long time now and I find it incredible.
Okay. We certainly plan to be there. We have to have to share the message. I do believe passionately that HR is important.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I can do it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that most of our clients listen to us most days.
Yeah.
And they hear, and we're trying to do it for them, not for us.
You're helping people every day.
Trying to help people every day do the right thing.
That's what I love about my job, because I know I'm marketing, it's a bit different, but I feel like I'm making a difference for small businesses out there, and their success is your success. And
It is.
I think that's a really important saying.
It is. But I think succession is very important.
Okay.
Your family see what you do
Totally agree.
and they become you in time.
Your children.
They will become you in time. All
your children are working in your business now, aren't they?
But they all become you in time. We become our parents whether we like it or not.
I'm going to be a bit of a lunatic, so. So, Philip, thank you very much for coming in. That was an excellent insight into HR. So I suppose for any small businesses out there who are looking for advice, you can contact the HR company. All their details are on the website, www.thehrcompany.ie. Thank you very much, Philip, for today.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is kindly sponsored by Euro Auctions. The next auction takes place on the 12th and 13th of December in Dromore, County Tyrone.